Hello, everybody. How's it going? Happy Sunday. I'm here like I am most Sundays. My name is Scott Pinyard. I am the head coach here at This Naked Mind, and I like to jump on here and talk about what I'm thinking about during the week. This week, I've been thinking a lot about motivation, and I want to give you some of my thoughts on this, some of my observations of people who have gone through our programs and ask us questions about that. Before I do that, though, I do want to. I got to get myself fired up over here, too. Good. I can see your comments. Please say hello, ask questions, anything you want to do. I love interacting with you guys. This is honestly one of the highlights of my week. So please, if you are watching, feel free to say hi. Before I talk about motivation, I want to talk about moderation. So, one of the things that we get asked about so often is moderation possible? Will it work for me? Right? Everyone wants to do it. It makes perfect sense, right? We have this idea that we want to change. We want to change our relationship with alcohol, and we're not totally sure how that's going to happen. And is there a way to do it? And how would that work? And maybe the thing that makes the most sense is to totally shift into a moderation, right? If you're wondering about that, and if you're wondering if that's possible for you, I highly recommend checking out our guide to moderation. It is called canimoderate.com. So head on over to canimoderate.com. The link is right in the description. We would love you to get a copy. It's totally free. But if that's what you're thinking about, if you are motivated to moderate, then go check that out. It's a super handy guide. We're not going to give you an answer one way or another, but we're going to give you information, and that information is going to help you make a decision that works for you. So again, that's canimoderate.com. We'd love you to have it. Again, totally free. Let me say hi to a few people. Joanne, how's it going? Joanne, Donna, hello, hello. Maria, I always think of The Sound of Music, Maria, and I just sang on a live, which I said I would never do. So that's never happening again. Maria, happy Sunday to you. Hope you're doing good. Annette, how's it going? Sarah in Kansas City, hello, Sarah. And Lizzie from the UK. Hey, Lizzie, how are you? So I want to encourage you guys, please go ahead and send in your questions while I talk. I want to get to the main event now, which is motivation. So, I get asked this question all the time, about motivation. Like, how do I get the motivation to actually change? How do I get the motivation to keep going? And so often when people initially reach out to us, they're in a place of feeling motivated, right? Of feeling like, all right, I want to do this and I want to move forward and I want to change my relationship with alcohol. And that's awesome. Motivation is super, super important. And so one of the things, you went to a convent school just like Maria. That's hilarious, Maria. One of the things that, we need to change, right, is we need this desire to change. We need this motivation. But what happens very often is people feel this motivation and then they don't. And then they lose momentum, right? And they feel like I'm making progress, but now all of a sudden I'm not making progress. By the way, this is applicable both to alcohol and non-alcohol stuff. But any sort of change you want to make, losing weight is another one that I see, is that people have this huge vision and idea of like, oh, this is what's going to change for me. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be so different. It's going to be incredible. And then life doesn't live up to that, and that motivation wanes. So what is exactly going on there? And I want to give you some tips, some things from my own journey that were super useful for me. Also, what I see working for people in our programs. And again, still more invitations. Please go ahead and send in those questions. I do see yours, Cindy Lou. I will get back to you in just a minute on that. So a lot of times when people think about motivation, they think about this big vision, right? This huge picture. So let's use drinking as an example, right? I'm going to change my relationship with alcohol. That's going to change everything, right? I'm going to have my marriage or relationships going to get better. My relationships with my kids or my friends are going to get better. My health is going to get better. I'm going to be so much more productive at our job. I'm going to save so much money, right? We have all of these things that are in our head and we're excited about, and that is fantastic, right? But it's this huge, big picture idea. And one of the best ways to generate motivation is to take a few minutes, picture yourself in that moment. I will literally do this with people in my groups, people that I coach. Well, I will actually walk them through a visualization where they think about a day when you're alcohol free and all of these things are in place, right? Doing that visualization and paying attention to the emotions that come up Because here's the thing, here's a pro tip in case some of you know this, some of you don't. Your brain can't really tell the difference between an actual experience and a very well crafted visualization. And so, what that means is you can start to feel those emotions of excitement and happiness and joy and all of those things that you will get out of this big picture vision when it happens for you. So, using that big picture vision, paying attention to that big picture vision, and really saying, like, okay, I want to, I want to make this huge change. That's so motivating. And it's a big part of the process. But there's a giant problem to this, right? There is a huge problem when it comes to this form of motivation. And here's what it is, right? In this Naked Mind process, for any sort of change we're going to make, as you know, we work first on changing your thinking and then on changing your behavior. So people go through this process and they have this visualization and they have this really big picture idea of like, this is what life's going to be like. It's going to be so incredible. It's going to be so amazing. I can't wait to get there. And they change their thinking. And then day one comes, right? And they're like, all right, here's the day I'm going to transform. And it was good. Yeah, it was all right. Maybe there were some bumps. There were a couple of triggers. I got through it. Then day 2, and then day 3, and then the first week. And here's what happens. Because we have this big, huge picture vision of how amazing and incredible everything's going to be, and because that's what we're looking at, that's what we're focused on, when we get this incremental progress, because that's what this process is, right? It is literally like one day after another. It doesn't compare, right? So we have this idea in our heads that like, oh, my relationship is going to be so much better. Things are going to be completely different. I can't believe it. But a week in, it hasn't really changed that much. Maybe it's changed a little bit, but it certainly hasn't changed as much as I've imagined it was going to, Scott. What's wrong? How am I doing this wrong? Here's the problem with this big picture, this big vision idea. This is a process that happens over time. And as a matter of fact, any major change in your life that you put effort into is going to happen incrementally, right? It is going to happen over a period of time. And so if your benchmark for change is that endpoint, is that long vision, you're going to miss some of the stuff that's happening right now. And you're going to constantly feel like you're not making any progress. Here's the reality, right? Changing your relationship with alcohol absolutely will do all of those things that I listed, right? It'll change your relationships. It will change your outlook. It will change the way you feel. It will change your health. All of these positive benefits are 100% there. However, you're not given all of them on day one, right? That first day when you quit drinking, it's not going to be like everything changes. That's not how it happens. Right? In the same way, by the way, that your relationship with alcohol has developed over the years, it's not like you had your first drink and now you are, you're where you're at with alcohol after 20 years. No, it's gradual. And the same thing is true as we unroll this process. So the question ends up being, well, then how the hell do I maintain motivation? Like, what happens there? Why does this happen? I want to tell you that in a second. And I actually want to go into some detail about some things you can do. The big picture vision is really important, but there's a lot of other things you can do that can keep that motivation going for you as you're working through your change process, right? As you're getting used to your life alcohol free. I do want to answer some questions and say hello to a few other people. So Cindy Lou says, hey, from Canada. Did 2 drinks max for a year if I chose to drink. I'm now 5 months alcohol free. Feel free from alcohol. That is amazing, Cindy Lou. That is awesome. Congratulations on that. Diane in Arizona, part of the path, April 2021. Yes, welcome. I will see you in there. That's very exciting. I'm looking forward to getting to know you, Diane. And Maria plays the guitar like Maria. That's good. Let's see. Maria says, I love being alcohol free. And today I hit 40-pound weight loss since October when I went alcohol free. That's friggin' amazing. Let's see. What is that? November, December, January, February, March, April. That's 6 months. That's nuts. That's nuts, Maria. Congratulations on that. So good. So good. Thank you for sharing with that. Kim, yeah, beautiful spring day in Alaska. That's good. Man, I've never been to Alaska. I really want to go. Maria, I have a picture on my fridge when I was slim and healthy. I use that to keep the goal in focus. It's becoming real now. Motivation has been key. Absolutely, yes. And I want to talk about how to break down motivation in just a second. Kathy in Australia. Hello, Kathy in the future. Um, yes. Oh, yes. Step by step transformation happens. Enjoying the journey. Exactly. It's the, as you say, the aggregate of small gains. That's the main thing. So, with this idea of motivation, right, we start off this process and we're super excited, right? We're super excited about all these things in our life that are going to change, all of these things that are going to be different and amazing and incredible as we go to change our relationship with alcohol. And then they don't all happen at first. And, it might be that it's a weekend. It might be that you're a month in and you're like, man, I thought there was going to be like fireworks and confetti. I was led to believe there was going to be this amazingness and it ain't here, right? This is the motivation trap. This is what people fall into because they have this whole big picture that, by the way, takes a long time to unspool. It doesn't all happen at once, but they're looking down here. They're like, I want this thing, and they're missing all of the other things that are happening. So I want to talk about how to break this motivation down into smaller pieces, right? Into these small wins. Like Maria was saying, right? It's these small pieces all added together. That's what gets us down the road to the vision, right? It's like this, right? Let's imagine that you're driving, let's imagine you're driving a 16 wheeler, right? Like a big old truck. And you're on the highway and you can see like 5 miles down the road. And 5 miles down the road, there's no traffic. You're like, sweet, there's no traffic. Here's the problem: right in front of you, there's traffic. Right in front of you, there's other cars, right? And if you're constantly focused on 5 miles down the road, you're going to be very frustrated when you have to merge, right? When you have to change lanes, you're like, what the hell? Look, there's no traffic, except there is, right? It's the same idea that keeping our focus, yes, it's important to have that dream. Yes, it's important to feel those emotions and do that visualization exercise I was talking about. That's absolutely important, but it's also really important to be right here, right now, right with our feet planted in today. And so there's really two pieces to this that were super helpful for me on my journey. And I want to share them with you. And again, I want to encourage to go ahead and send in some more questions as I'm talking here. But two things. So first, we have this huge vision. It's a long time down the road, but we don't necessarily think of how we're going to get there. And so one of the best surprises of this journey of changing your relationship with alcohol is that things happen every day, right? There are small things that are happening every single day, things you haven't anticipated yet. And consciously choosing to look for those things. Now, again, this doesn't mean that your marriage is completely different. This doesn't mean that you suddenly got that promotion you've been working for, right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about things like you're feeling a little bit better than you normally do. You don't have a headache when you woke up in the morning and you're driving to work and you look out the window, you're like, damn, that is beautiful, right? You start to become so much more aware of your surroundings. That's a small win. That's something you get right away. And there's millions of these. And so one of the things that I always recommend to people when they're early on, yes, big vision is awesome. Big vision is important, but looking around you for those smaller things in the way you behave, in the way you feel, in the way you connect with others, in the way that your day to day goes, those small things, those are the stepping stones, right? Those are the pieces of your journey. And each one of these that you see, you can think consciously, this is getting me a step closer, right? One of my goals, one of my personal goals when I was quitting alcohol, was to be able to enjoy my life. And I know that sounds kind of crazy. And it's not that I didn't, obviously I love my family and my wife and my kids. And I love, I had a job and I was grateful for that. But it just seemed like everything was so laborious, right? Like every day was such a slog and I didn't get enough time with my family. I had to spend more time at work and I just didn't find myself in this position where I was regularly feeling happy. And I don't mean like tap dancing on the roof happy, although that's nice, but just like content, you know? And I noticed, and the reason I use this example is I used to drive. So I live in Portland, Maine. I used to work in Yarmouth, Maine. So I drive back and forth between the two places every day. And I remember very clearly this one morning, and I was like, I don't know, I don't even think I was a weekend. And I started driving a different way to work just so I could, have some variety in my life. And I was driving over this part on Route 1 where you're on a bridge. And on this side, you can kind of see, there's this big bay, and you can see the highway in the distance. And on this side is the ocean. And actually, in the distance is Portland Headlight, which anyone knows Portland, that's like a very famous lighthouse here. And it was early morning. I think it was like 6:30 in the morning, and the sun was just coming up. And I had my coffee, um, and I just had this moment of like, wow, this is amazing. And it was something that hadn't happened to me in a long time, right? Just this moment of awareness of like, this is great. I'm enjoying this. This is huge, right? Those things, those small wins, those are the stepping stones for you. And so I want to suggest to you to look around. It doesn't have to be contrived. It doesn't have to be made up. It doesn't have to be anything negative. It doesn't have to be anything fake or like cheesy or anything like that, right? But looking around for those things, that is how you start to feel this change happening, right? Keeping in mind the fact that this big, huge vision you have is amazing. It is amazing, but it ain't going to happen overnight, right? Keeping in mind that this is a bunch of small things added together, that if you're looking for those small things, if you notice those small things, you can celebrate each and every one. The best part of this whole thing, guys, is that you don't have to wait till you get all the way to the end to celebrate. Right? Because this is what I see all the time is that people say, like, oh, I'm going to set up this big, huge vision and it's going to be amazing and everything's going to change and I can't wait to get there. And then I'll do the visualization exercise with them and they'll be like, well, this feels so incredible. And they'll be visualizing their life when they're at that point in their life. And they're like, this is going to be amazing. And then everything's focused on that. And it's like anything short of that, we don't get to celebrate. We don't get to really enjoy. But the reality is when you look at the journey and you recognize that this journey is a bunch of tiny little steps, you can celebrate everything, every single step, right? That is how this works. So first, look around you each day, right? Look around you each day. What are those things that I can celebrate? What are those things, those small like pieces that I can take, those small things that I can take as tiny wins? And all of those tiny wins add up to this big vision, right? So that's number one, look around. Number two is think of those small things, right? What am I talking about? Spend a minute, if you're at a point right now where you're like, hey, I'm about to change my relationship with alcohol. I've got this big vision. This feels really good and exciting. What I want you to do now is list a bunch of things, big and small, but preferably small, about your day-to-day life that you don't like that are in your life because of drinking. Whatever those things are, right? For me, waking up with a hangover every single day, right? I did not have a day where my alarm went off and I didn't feel horrible. And so one of the things that was on my list was waking up without a headache, waking up feeling rested, right? I don't know, that could be any number of things for you, right? That could be staying engaged and staying, connected to the people around you in the evening. It could be, not having that afternoon slump because you actually had a good night's sleep. It could be, one of the other things that used to frustrate me was that I would, I'd try to have a conversation with my wife. And of course, for the first couple of drinks, it was fine. And then I could kind of feel myself like not following the plot. And then I could kind of see the body language from her that I wasn't following the plot, right? And that bothered me so much. So the idea here is to make a list of these small things. Yes, the big vision is important, but these small things are the stepping stones. So list out those small things. Think of what they are, right? The first piece of advice here is to look around because very often we can't think of all of them and they're fantastic surprises. The second step here is to list out the things that you expect. And some of them might happen, some of them might not. Some of them might happen tomorrow. Some of them might happen on day 2. Some of them might happen on day 20. You don't know. It's part of the fun of this. But understand what those things are. What are those things that you're looking for? And celebrate each and every one. And again, if you're looking for this big, huge vision to come true immediately, you're going to be let down. But by doing this, right, by looking around for those small things that are changing, by keeping in mind the fact that this big change that you're working on comes in a bunch of different steps, and by anticipating not just that really big vision that you have, because you will get there, it's just a matter of time, not just anticipating that big vision, but also anticipating those small wins along the way, that's how you keep motivation going, right? That's the secret. So often people talk about this idea of like this end state motivation. Like right now I'm drinking, I want to not be drinking. This is how it's going to feel to not be drinking. Yes, totally true. Yes. And it is honestly the single best thing I've ever done in my life, the single biggest thing that's ever improved my life. Like amazing, amazing, amazing. There's no way if you had talked to the Scott of 6 years ago, and told me how great my life was going to be now, I couldn't have even imagined that. It's better than I even imagined, right? And I knew it was going to be a huge thing. So, yes, that's there and that's important. But understanding those steps, understanding those little pieces, those little links in the chain that get you from here to here, that's how you keep that motivation going, right? That's how you start to feel it. And guess what? Motivation keeps us moving. And when we keep moving, we build momentum, right? And this whole thing just starts to snowball. So I do want to get to some of your questions because I see some of them here. Let's see. Schillender, I hope I said that. Schillender, been alcohol free for 2.5 years after Annie's book and found my life again. Yes, that's amazing. Congratulations. Congratulations. Kathy, I did 30-day 2 years ago, went on the slippery slope, did Annie's alcohol experiment last year, did 200 days. And then relapsed and it got really bad. I'm now on day 8 and never drinking again. No moderation for me. Thanks. That's awesome. I love it. And I want to just take a moment. And I know that I always talk about this when it comes to moderation, but like, I want to give you guys the straight 100% truth about moderation. Again, canimoderate.com. They'll give you more information in there and totally free. You can check that out. Everybody who wants to change their relationship with alcohol wants to moderate. It is the place that we all start. And I'll just be upfront with you. It's not possible for everyone. It's not possible for as many people as I think we think it is. The key thing, though, with moderation is being honest with yourself and looking at guides like this and doing things like the alcohol experiment to get that information. And the real reality, I can't think of many other, I can't think of many other lessons or things that we learn on this journey that are more sticky or that require us to learn it for ourselves other than moderation. Moderation is a thing. Everybody wants to do it, and it's a lesson that we have to learn. So the reason that I'm saying all of this, Kathy, is I don't want you to feel like, man, I messed up, right? You use the term relapse. To me, that's a negative term. No, that's not what you did. You did 200 days and, something went sideways, right? And you learned from that. And now you're back on day 8. The same thing is true with moderation, right? This idea of like, oh, I'm going to moderate. We try it. It doesn't work. That requires the honesty from us. That's the place where you can say, all right, you know what? I thought this was a solution and it wasn't. So I hope that makes sense, Kathy, but thank you for sharing that. Galen says, my life has changed completely for the better, but it took more than a year. It's worth the wait. Yes. And that's my point, Galen, though, right? Is like, you don't have to wait, right? Like, yes, maybe to get to that big, huge vision we have, we might have to wait. But there are so many small pieces along the way. And this idea of like missing out on the joy of those small pieces because of our vision and our desired end state, I just see it all the time, and I see it hold people back. So, that's great. Thank you, Galen. Maria said, I think back, small choices, daily choices, patience and perseverance, learning points, self-care, self-love, one day at a time. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And with all of those things, right, with those small choices, with that patience and perseverance, right, those things are revealing themselves to you. You have things to celebrate. And these are, again, I know I've said it a million times, but these are tiny stepping stones on your way, right? That's awesome. Thank you, Maria. Let's see. Hey, Ellie, how's it going? Let's see. Nancy says, a couple weeks ago, I made a late evening run for dessert for my kids and was overcome with gratitude that I was sober and clear to drive without the worry of wine in my belly and to later drink in the happiness of my kids, laughing and eating pecan pie. Wonderful. That's amazing, right? And that's one of those things that my guess is you're not going to like when you're making the list of things that might change when you quit drinking. It's not going to be like, oh, I'm going to be sober to drive to the grocery store. No, but these are the things that pop up, right? And these are the things that we can celebrate. And these are the things that keep us moving forward. That's such a great story, Nancy. I really like that a lot. Let's see. All right, Kate, we'll see you on the replay. Thank you. Rachel on day 20 of the alcohol experiment. That's amazing. Congratulations. That's really, really excited. Denise, alcohol free for 20 days with help from This Naked Mind. Also amazing. Congratulations on that, Denise. That is absolutely worth celebrating. Schillender says, I also got help from my doctor who gave me Campril tablets, and they really took the edge off cravings. It's a year's prescription. It helps so much, but there's so much out there to help. Yeah, and this is the thing, right? Like, something like This Naked Mind, we want to be an option. We don't want to be the single tool for you. If that is the case and that works for you, then great, and we'll work with you as much as we want. But like, remember that like there's so many options out there. And you know, Schillender, this idea of like this helping you and making this incremental change over a year is amazing. Let's see. Rachel says, I'm wondering if it's worth it to even consider moderation. Probably not. I don't know. I miss not caring so much about everything. Yeah. So Rachel, I want to dig into that a little bit with you. You know, I hear that so much, what you're saying of like, you know, like for me, it was like, I want to be able to turn my brain off, right? I want to be able to stop thinking about work or family stuff or politics or, you know, this is negative stuff. And it just feels overwhelming. And for a lot of us, the idea is like, oh, alcohol helps me do that. And to an extent, that's true, right? Like we know that that first 20 minutes after a drink, 20 minutes to half hour is the best you're going to feel all night from alcohol. And from there on out, it's a downward slope. And I think one of the things that really changed my thinking around that, and this is when I read this in This Naked Mind, the book, one of the things that really changed my mind about that is the idea that you don't come out feeling better, right? So like we have these thoughts, we have these things we might be focused on. Say it's work stress. We'll just use that as an example, right? You have a very long day at work. You're feeling tired. You're feeling maybe a little angry, a little edgy, a little worn out, whatever that might be for you. And you're like, I just don't want to think about this. Like, yeah, right. So my boss said this thing and like this coworker's doing this thing and I'm right, like stressed out. So then there's this idea like, oh, I want to not be stressed out. And so the thought comes, all right, how do we change that? And the very first solution that so many of us, that was absolutely me, have about this is like, well, I'm going to have a drink, right? That's going to help me relax. Here's the thing though, right? If you look at the entire experience, yes, immediately there is that feeling, right? But I never woke up feeling more relaxed. I never actually dealt with the stuff that was stressing me out. And so for me, this idea of like moderation and turning it off, like it just didn't make sense, right? Instead, I found other tools. I found other ways of being able to not care so much about everything. Other ways of have it not, you know, live rent free in my head. That's the trick, right? And I love the way that you put that out there because this idea of like, I miss not caring so much. You're identifying the problem, right? That's the problem. This stuff is in my mind. I care about it so much. I'm thinking about it all the time. Well, let's find some ways to help you do that that don't involve alcohol and that don't, by the way, leave you feeling worse when you're done with it, right? This was the thing for me when I suddenly saw in my own life that like the stress that I was feeling off of work did not get better ever with drinking, right? So anyway, I thank you for that. And you know, this is everyone's journey. You know, and I encourage you to think about it and think about things that'll help you and help you move forward with it. Yeah, Rachel, I'm a highly sensitive person and I have alcohol to shut down the compassion meter. Rachel, there's so many things out there that you can do that will help with that. One of the biggies for me was meditation. You know, I've meditated off and on for more than 20 years now. But when I first quit drinking, giving myself that space and paying attention to my own thoughts and my own breath, that worked better than alcohol ever did for me, right? I'm not saying that's necessarily going to be the case for you, but my point is there's so many things out there. So I love that you've identified the problem. I can't turn my brain off. Let's work to find you some solutions that'll really help you with it, because that makes a huge difference. Let's see. Awesome. All right. I think I'm toward the end here. Harriet loves my enthusiasm. Thank you, Harriet. I appreciate that. I love that you're watching. All right. So just as a quick review to what I was talking about, that big, huge vision you have of your life alcohol free, that is something to hold on to. That is amazing. but I want to be I don't want you to get too carried away with this though, because it's not going to be given to you right away. So yes, that long-term vision is so important. It's so important, right? To really feel that, to get in and feel those emotions. But that journey doesn't happen overnight, right? Again, just like the fact that, you're at where you're at now with alcohol, that didn't happen overnight. So this idea that, this big vision is just going to suddenly, everything's going to change. It's just not how it's going to go. It's going to come in small pieces. So look around for those small pieces. Pay attention to what's happening around you. Just get excited about them. Celebrate them, because each one of those things, each one of those times that you drive past the liquor store without even thinking about it, and then 5 minutes later go, oh my God, I used to stop there every day, right? Each one of those times that happens, that's a piece of the journey. And so I highly, highly recommend that you celebrate those and just be on the lookout for those, because they're going to start happening to you as soon as you start changing your behavior. And the second thing to do is list out all of the things, the small things about drinking that right now you feel are making your life less engaging, less enjoyable, and look for those things. Right? Look for those things to happen. Waking up without a headache, getting a good night's sleep. All of this stuff is so, so important. And when you do that, you can have the motivation of the big picture and what it's going to be like when you get to this place that's in the future. And you can celebrate those small wins today. And those small wins continue to add up until one day you're there. Right? And so that's the secret, is really being able to see the big picture and the small picture at the same time. This is an incredible journey, and there's a lot of pieces that you're going to go on along the way. But if you pay attention to both the big picture and these small wins, you're going to be giving yourself so much motivation that you're going to continue to build that momentum. And before you know it, you're going to get to where you want to go. So that is it for me. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me for this last half an hour. I'll be back again next Sunday to talk about this. And as a reminder, if you are feeling motivated to moderate, I just about said that backward. If you are feeling motivated to moderate, head on over to canimoderate.com. That's canimoderate.com. Right there, we have a handy guide that gives you a whole bunch of stuff to think about, gives you so many things that will really, really help you decide, can I moderate? Should I moderate? Do I want to moderate? Again, it's a question that comes up for everyone. So we want to give you that guide absolutely free. Head on over to canimoderate.com and get your copy right away. All right. Thank you all very much. Good to see you as always, and I'll be back next week. Take care.